Felt that?
You see yourself on that?
Yep. It's in there.
Yes,
There it is.
there you go.
Welcome, everybody. It is through wishes and hopes. It's 6 p.m. Welcome to the Lincolnville Select Board meeting. It is April 14th, and before we get going, let's see. Steve, would you quote?
Cool. Don't go out there for credit. If you succeed, there will be plenty of credit. Harry Truman.
Thank you. And before we proceed with the agenda, any non-agenda items for the Citizens Forum? Steve, come on down.
I have a gift to give to all of you in the town. It's a photo book that I put together about building the library.
Oh,
The time from 2011, our first meeting, through opening in the new building in 2014, and then about another year. It's a project I worked on when I retired to give to the library, and I also gave a copy to the Historical Society and 3 of our founding members and volunteers. And I showed the book to David a month or 2 ago and asked if he thought it was appropriate to give the town a copy, and he said yes and suggested I do it here. So it comes with huge thanks for all your support of the library over the many years. So I will give it to me.
Oh, that's such a wonderful thing. Thank you so much. And what a great story. And, you know, thank you to you.
Lots of people's pictures in there, and I did that for me.
And what a true community effort. Yeah.
Doing a great thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else for any non-agenda items?
I don't know if it's on the agenda.
You are on the agenda. So if you want, there's a copy of the agenda just over on the table. Feel free to grab it. But you'll be coming up soon enough. So if there's nobody else for any non-agenda items, let's move along to the administrator.
Try to be quick since you have a long agenda ahead of you. The nomination papers for elected positions that'll be voted on in June has closed. We had 1 person return nomination papers for the select board, 2 for 1 seat on the 5-town CSD board, 2 for 1 seat on the Lincolnville Central School Committee, and 3 for 3 positions on the budget committee for 3-year terms. And no one took out or returned papers for the 2-year seat on the budget committee. So anybody out there interested, now's the time to start your write-in campaign. We've been working on Greenacre Road on the shoulders and ditching in preparation for paving later this spring. We've had the beach parking lot and the town office parking lot swept. The incline at the harbor has gone from its winter position where it's down with a wider walking surface to the summertime, quote unquote, summertime position where 1/2 of it is up. So it has a slide as well as a walking surface per the board direction of years ago when that was acquired. Yours truly attended a Stream Smart workshop that was put on in preparation for our work on on Youngtown Road and elsewhere, and the road things that are currently up. If the weather stays as predicted for the rest of the week, at least for the paved roads, will be likely down before the weekend, and gravel roads possibly or soon thereafter. Excuse me, and that's it besides things on the agenda.
Okay. Any questions for David? All right, moving along to upcoming meetings and announcements.
All meetings are here at the town office unless announced otherwise. The Comprehensive Plan Review Committee is scheduled to meet Wednesday, April 16th at 6 p.m. The town office is closed in observance of Patriots Day on Monday, April 21st. Select Board has a workshop regarding resiliency scheduled for Tuesday, April 22nd, 6 p.m. Lakes and Ponds Committee meets Tuesday, April 22nd, 7 p.m. Budget Committee has a public hearing on the municipal and the school budgets on Wednesday, April 23rd, 6 p.m. Conservation Commission is scheduled to meet Thursday, April 24th, 4 p.m. And the Select Board meets next in regular session on Monday, April 28th, 6 p.m.
Thank you very much. And are there any upcoming community events anyone wishes to share? Seeing none, let's move along to the meeting. Yep. Please come.
I just want to let everyone know that the library is past its 10-year anniversary celebration, and we didn't get around to having that celebration. So we are doing that on Saturday, April 25th. It's an open house to the entire community. We'll have activities for children. We'll have refreshments, of course, home-baked things and things to drink. And we'll have some door prizes and a raffle. And we hope that everyone will stop in. It's between 2 and 5 on Saturday,
Perfect.
April 25th. Stop in and just see what's going on.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, super. If there are any other community events, I'm sure there probably are some. Good one. We have 2 sets of meeting minutes. The first being from March 24th. And I will entertain a motion.
I move the board approve the March 24th, 2025 meeting minutes as presented.
Oh, yes.
Before select person hand raises his hand. The scribe apparently did a cut and paste error on the last motion, which is line 203, and wrote select person hand made the motion when he wasn't even here. That motion was actually made by select person Late and seconded by Ray. Select person Ray, excuse me.
Would you care to approve them as
I will
amended?
amend my motion.
Okay.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And then we have a set from April 8th.
I move the board approve the April 8th, 2025 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Well, I want to hear from them.
That is okay. You can still.
We missed you.
But, I can still vote on them.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And we have a liquor license renewal for McLaughlin's Lobster Shack, and we do have a representative here for that application. And I think the only thing that's tripping everybody up is the school and the churches, because now they changed the wording to say school and churches. And we've had a couple of folks come through, and the application never said that. It was like the closest of any of these things, and now they make it inclusive. So I think as long as you add in the school, get with David and add in the school, I don't see an issue with the application.
I don't either.
Okay, does anyone have questions for the applicant? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move that the board grant the liquor license requested by Beachfront Inc., doing business as McLaughlin's Lobster Shack, and that the town administrator will be authorized to indicate such on the Bureau of Alcohol and Lottery Operations portal, with the addition of the school information.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. And next up, we have a conversation regarding paving the library parking lot. Yes, please.
Kathleen Oliver again, wearing my library hat. The library, after substantial deliberation time, has decided to pave the parking lot. We're at the point with the parking lot where we either need to have it re-gravelled and worked on again. It's been about 5 years since we did that the first time, or pave it. And we decided after having the benefit of the paving that we did in the fall, that we would continue with the program and pave the remainder of the lot. Because the town is the leaseholder on our property, we felt it was important that you be informed. A lot of research has been done around water permeable surfaces. We've been unable to come up with anything that we can afford to do in that vein. And there's also been research done on, let me look at my notes. Oh, on the fact that it is a brownfield. And we're very sensitive to that and aware of that. And whenever there's any kind of digging or whatever on the property, we're careful to get the right permitting. Asphalt is considered an appropriate cap for a brownfield. So that's what we're going to do with your blessing. We are going to take the funds. We have John Williams, who is the lead volunteer on buildings and grounds at the library. He did get assessments, not assessments, but appraisals of cost for both graveling and paving from several different people. As Rosie knows, he was one of the people who gave us a price on that. And so we decided to go with Cameron Paving. They are going to do it in May, in between the library plant sale and the opening of the boat club summer camps. We hope to have that all accomplished. It's going to cost us, the contract is $14,650 for the parking lot. That was a fair price, a good price for the compared to the others that we had. And that fund, that money is going to come from one of our Vanguard investment funds at the library. We have a capital investment fund where we have saved money for this kind of purpose. And we decided that was an appropriate expense, and that's where the money will come from.
Great.
Do you have any questions about it or comments to make?
Yeah.
I just, I think that'll be a benefit to do that. And I know there was a lot of, people didn't want to do it, you know, from the start, and I can understand why. My question is, with the other things that are going on and the potential loss of funding, is there a concern spending this type of money right now and before the library and the town knows how much money you're not going to have? I mean, something as
Yes.
simple as free Wi-Fi will be interrupted, you know?
Yes,
So
thank you.
I'm concerned about that, and I wonder if there's been any conversation within the directors of the library or the leaders of the library.
At our most recent board meeting, of course, we talked about the situation coming up because we knew that the Institute of Library and Museum Sciences has been disbanded. And that has been the source of funding for a number of things, services we receive from the state, including our free Wi-Fi, which is the fastest Wi-Fi in town. One way or another, we will figure out how to continue that. We receive it through the main school and library network. Personally, I'm confident that there will be a compromise reached within state funding, decisions on the state level. We may have to pay something toward it, which we have not had to do thus far. If we do have that, we feel we have adequate funds to cover that in our investments and the cash flow that we have going. So, yeah, we feel good going forward with this. We don't know what's going to happen, and we feel like, well, we have to carry on. And if we have to work harder to raise more money, that's what we'll do.
I know it's early on in the process, and I'm glad that you were able to answer that. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I thought probably you were already talking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course, we've been.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move the board approves the paving of the parking lot on the town-owned property that is leased by the Lincolnville Community Library, and this motion be recorded in the minutes as written proof.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, right? And next up, we have Peter Wilcox here to talk to us about a wave buoy installation request. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Peter Wilcox from Islesboro, and I'm here to ask your permission, which I've discussed with Mr. Kinney, to put in a wave buoy to monitor the size of the seas that hit the Lincolnville Ferry Pier. Now, I'm a member of the delegate, I guess you'd say, to the Ferry Advisory Board from Islesboro, and I'm on the Emergency Ferry Committee. We're concerned about the proposed moving of the ferries to sleep on the mainland. And one of the reasons that we're concerned about it is we don't think Lincolnville is an appropriate place to keep the ferry. And one way we hope to prove this is by measuring the seas and showing how big they are, and the fact that they will absolutely have to use a large size breakwater, which would cost millions of dollars, I'm guessing, to put it there. And so in discussions with a professor from Orono, who has lent us a couple sea level buoys in Islesboro, which we have used. She said she has a wave buoy, which she would lend to us for about a year, so we could get a certifiable estimation of the wave size coming into Lincolnville. And I asked Mr. Kinney where to put it, and he said, in fact, I should come here tonight and ask your permission. And that's the theory behind it. It's a smaller buoy, about this size. I've sent Mr. Kinney some pictures of it. It has a 50-pound pyramid-shaped mooring buoy to another buoy, and then there's a wave buoy drifting off of it, about it with 2 or 3 meters of line. And yeah, we leave it there for about a year, and we have a forensic engineer on Islesboro who will make up a report that we will submit to the State of Maine Department of Transport at some point.
Great. Questions or comments? Concerns? Yeah. Who wants to go first?
So my question is for David, where the buoys have been plotted and or replotted down there by our assistant harbor master. Has he been involved with this conversation to see how that would actually fit, or where his expertise would actually say it should go?
Yeah, we've had some discussions, at least on a preliminary basis. Peter has indicated that initial thoughts was to put it off in Frohawk Point, south of the pier, or south of the ferry slip itself, which is well out of the mooring field or access for the ferry to the pen itself. My understanding, Peter's going to correct me if I'm wrong, is wanted to get it basically in open water, obviously non-protected waters, because then you're not measuring true wave. And I don't foresee any challenges, but the harbor ordinance didn't give the discretion to the harbor master to place something like this, and that's why it's in your lap.
Okay, good. My question is going to be regarding the harbor committee. Any communication with the harbor committee?
Initially, I believe Peter spoke with the harbor committee chair, Nick Heel. The harbor committee hasn't had a meeting to discuss it, but so I can't speak for them. Won't try.
Did you have a follow-up?
Well, as long as, if you're going to send a report to someone, if we could be copied on that, any information, any data that you draw from that, if we could, we're with you. We don't think that ferry should be over here either.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot going on, or supposedly going to be going on. So we want to be involved with any of it.
I suppose I should have added that some of my information comes from the North Haven Select Board meeting, which is on YouTube, that was addressed by Bruce Van Note himself, who said about 2 weeks ago, plus or minus, that the proposal for the other ferries to be moved on the mainland has been turned off, whatever the correct way of saying it is, and only Islesboro is he going ahead with. But he's not perceiving a decision time for 2 or 3 years. That's the latest I have on that situation.
Yeah, I don't have a question, more of a comment that, well, first, thank you for taking the initiative to make this happen. I'm in full support and, you know, I'm disappointed that this isn't something that was initiated by the DOT in their thinking, in their proposal. I just have to get it on record, you know, that it's like, if they were going to propose a drastic change that has many ripple effects. So all that to say is,
Yeah, I was gonna kind of ask that same question, but I was wondering if you, Peter, have been in contact with the DOT or Ferry Service to see if they've done similar type of studies. I know there hasn't been buoy out there. But I mean, to what extent can we maybe share information, even though it might be an adversarial type? partnership?
My feeling is with this issue, that somebody said to the commissioner, I think we could get more people if we move the ferries on shore. So he said, great, move them on shore. And he didn't do any research into it at all.
Yeah, okay, yes, I'm not talking about where the ferries are gonna be, but just but wave heights, that kind of data. I'm wondering if that's kind of information that might be available in addition to a buoy. You're measuring the thing that you might be able to get your hands on.
Not that I have found yet.
Okay.
This offer by the professor at Orono to use their wave buoy to get actual scientific recordings, I think is the first I'm aware of for the Lincolnville area.
Mhm.
And I've had people tell stories about how rough it can get, but that's a whole different thing from.
take the anecdotal part out of it.
Right.
Implies, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, thanks.
Well, I will entertain a motion.
Try to find
Did
it.
did you want to, did you raise your hand? Yeah. Mr. Gary, I wasn't sure what was going on there. You have this seizure.
I'm sorry. I'm just, before you make a motion, I'm just wondering if you want to, and I'm sure you will, but I just think it would be nice, you do have a harbor committee, and they should be involved in all of the things.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, and to that end.
Okay, so I'll make a motion if you want. I move that the board allow the installation by Peter Wilcox and the University of Maine of a wave buoy and associated mooring in a location in Lincolnville waters, so long as the installation does not pose a threat to public safety or navigation. That any other approvals necessary are obtained and that the location be satisfactory to the harbor master or his designee.
So moved,
Second.
seconded, discussion? Yeah, and I think to Mr. Gary's point, you know, being as inclusive with all the relevant parties, with all this information will only benefit. Yeah, so if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing this to us. And next up, we have a representative from the Mid-Coast Council of Governments here to talk about our comprehensive plan consultant agreement and next steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's been a little while.
It is.
Well, we're excited to get started. You know, one of the things that we had talked about in our proposal was expanding the committee. And, you know, I think we feel pretty strongly that expanding the committee to, you know, maybe 9 people, 9 active participants would be a good foundational step for moving this comprehensive plan forward. And then especially in terms of just gathering more community support for the process. And, you know, I think you can take some of those members from your existing committees, but I think the main thing is we want these people to represent different perspectives and different social groups and just in Lincolnville. I think something we talked about is wanting that conflict of different opinions on that committee. And that's going to be really, really important to making this process something that's worthwhile for the town. There's always a possibility of having, slipping something through that a chunk of the town agrees with, but I think if this is going to be a significant process for the town, there needs to be a lot of buy-in. Something that we could do is put together an advertisement for committee members, a mailing of some sort, or, you could just start to think about who represents different parts of the community who might be a good fit for for those positions. It can be a combination of both, just, seeing who's interested and then, soliciting applications and also encouraging people to apply that might not otherwise be involved in town functions.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
If our comprehensive plan committee has had any talk about what kind of representation they would like? That is, let's say there are 3 slots. I don't know, making that up. One person from this locale, one person who does this, one person who does that. Have there been that kind of conversation, already taking place?
I'm not aware of that, but we throughout this process, we haven't interacted with the comprehensive plan committee per se, I think. But I'd be interested to ask them that. I know there was one member of the comprehensive plan committee that participated in the interviews, and I think he felt like the committee was a lot of like-minded people.
Well, that brings me to my second question. It's kind of a follow-up. Have in the town's history, have we ever done anything like this? Has the select board ever done anything that is where we're seeking out, we're actually recruiting a type of person to serve on a committee? Seems to me, at least in my tenure here, it's always been open, whomever wants to volunteer. And if they don't have any black marks on them, I guess, that's kind of what we do. We're not in a position of vetting positions and establishing positions of who is acceptable. I'm not saying that's not good for this application. I'm just wondering if we've done this before. Have we?
Yeah, we have it in similar terms, where, yeah, I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. David, you looked.
Yeah, well, don't take this the wrong way. These are all your committee and board appointments are political appointees, so to speak, by the political body, the elected. And part of your function as select board members is to arm twist, knock on doors, whatever it takes to get people to volunteer. I mean, some people hate to come to the town office because I'm always like, oh, Reed Matthews, I'm here to bring in your nomination papers for budget committee, and he always like, no, I did my time. But, it's certainly a function of the select board to get people on the committees to get them full. I don't know so much about recruiting necessarily different social groups or perspectives, because I don't know how people think, but it's certainly incumbent on you to get people and then to vet the people that come before you to pick. But I'd definitely encourage you to try and reach out to the different, if each one of you went to one of your friends and said, one more time, I need to recruit you, you'd have a pretty diverse group because your circles may overlap of friends, but they're not all the same people. So.
And certainly Mid-Coast Council of Governments weren't the only group to make this suggestion. It was kind of unilaterally that, in order to have a document that truly represents our community, it is incumbent upon us who appoint folks and oversee all this to make sure that there are differing opinions and perspectives and life experience and And apparently there's a lot of consensus on the existing committee.
The concern is like-minded personnel or like-minded people who've got it this far. Thank you very much for all that have done this.
Oh, yeah.
But like-minded is really a concern.
Mhm.
Because we're looking for, I don't want to say all walks of life, but we're looking for people who are outside the box.
Right.
And we are not good judges of that, or we are not educated to be judges of that, really. But to have one member say that, that's not good,
Mm,
in my mind.
mhm.
And maybe everybody else feels differently about that. And we have the same problem with our committees, is it's the same people picking up the slack and going back in and going back in and going back in until they're not able to get here to go back in. So,
Right.
it's a concern.
whoops, I don't mean to step on you. I wouldn't, knowing the people on the comprehensive plan committee, I wouldn't say they were all like-minded. I'd be careful about putting them all in that box. But I think it's helpful to broaden the perspective. I'm thinking like, the land use committee is the one that pops right to mind. That's, working on the possible changes to the land use ordinance. There's a diverse thought and opinion. If you go to their meetings, they are debating each word almost and coming to a group consensus. I think it's been I think it's been more challenging than they thought it was. But I think when it's all said and done, which we're hopefully getting close to the end of that, they're going to unanimously recommend a document to you that they'll all feel good about it, even though it wouldn't have been exactly what they would have written had they done it by themselves.
I was gonna say, oftentimes we're just adding people to committees because it's an empty spot, and there's been times, so in my time here where from a financial perspective, like, hey, somebody comes in that has no background, we're not gonna say, yeah, go ahead and join that committee. And what David just said, I've talked to a few of the people on that land use committee, and it has been painful for them, but
they all feel good about.
They all feel like they're putting something forward that the town is gonna adopt, be comfortable with. So the two pieces I think we need to pick a number at some point of what we want this to be. We can recruit some people, and to do that, I'd also like to be able to see, okay, who is the people on it now? If we've got them available, their forms when they, so like we can look at that. And then we're probably gonna have an opportunity as well in June. I mean, I'm assuming some of these positions are gonna be expiring, and we'll have some number to reappoint or appoint new.
The other thing I neglected to put in your packet or mention before is several years ago, a member of the comp plan committee sent me an email saying, can we have more people? And at the time it was like, well, not really, but maybe come, speak to the select board. That person ultimately didn't seek reappointment, but so there certainly has been some discussion, at least at the committee level too, of possibly having more.
And I'd say something that'd be really important is also making sure that someone on the select board is part of that committee, and someone from the land use committee probably, and maybe also the planning board. So there's also some, kind of official positions that you really need some sort of representation. Otherwise, if, I think we've definitely seen it where it's a citizen-led committee that is not in touch with sort of some of these day-to-day functions of the town. And that's also, so you need some rooted in the day-to-day function of the town, some that are, citizens looking for things to be different, some that are, it really matters to have that diversity in terms of that.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And to that end, David, do we need to, besides this engagement, emotions to engage in this process, does the board need to formally identify a number and, is that sort of the next step?
I don't think you do at this point. I mean, if you all go out and knock on, 750 doors and can't find a live body, you might just say, we'll just keep running with what we have. On the same token, if you set, I don't want to call it an artificial number tonight, but let's say you just decided to make it 9 people tonight and 16 is a lot, 8 more people came in that were well qualified.
Yeah, sure.
You might want to consider, a different number. So I think if you like the concept of expanded participation on the committee, I would encourage you to identify that you like the concept and then go to work and trying to find the people to populate the expanded committee.
Okay.
And I think the real question is, do you want to put out a general mailing calling for volunteers? Sometimes I can help just, have, if people complain about the process and say, who this person and this person, this person are on the committee, you can say, well, it was an open process. I think casting your net a little wider is also, more than you can kind of accommodate on the committee is also important, because then you have a pool of people who might be interested in just helping with outreach for the comprehensive plan, but also you kind of get them into the realm of, potentially serving on other committees.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I've got a question for you. Have you, through MidCog, and other comprehensive, other plan work, have you seen this process done by other towns? Have you seen how other towns have expanded the net?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've already got a plug and play procedure for us, I'm all ears, because I'm having trouble seeing how we're going to make this happen,
Right.
which is less than this kind of selective anecdotally. Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Right.
I mean, we haven't identified which of the groups we're trying to be represented.
Right. Well, Montville cast the widest net, and they just said anyone who wants to be on the committee can be on the committee. And, I think that approach is really true to Montville, I would say, and I think it's worked for them so far, although they're at the beginning of the process. I think the issue that I sometimes see with that is that people might not have the same commitment if they feel like, they're not designated to be, they weren't initially designated to be part of a committee. With Sears Mott's process, we started off with a mailing, and we had an application, and we got more people than we could accommodate on the committee, and we ended up going through with the select board and seeing who they thought would be, a combination of reading through and then there's some sort of close calls where it was who do we pull from this? So it was kind of a combination, I would say. And then some towns are just volunteer, whoever's invested in the process, but I'd say you do want people to be invested.
Sure.
That's really important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's just I'm trying to figure out how to do this.
I guess my recommendation would be sending out a mailing and at the same time recruiting specific people or encouraging specific people to submit applications, and taking a look at it that way. But I do think for the positions that are representing different committees or boards, I think you could, kind of reserve a position for each, for the select person, planning board representative, land use committee representative.
Yep.
Have those 3 be sort of selected, and then have some, resident positions that are by application.
Mhm. That makes sense.
So I'm up for that, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
super. Any other questions for Edie? All right, thank you so much for coming in and offering those thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One question I had for you. I know we had the kickoff initially in our proposal as being April, and I'm guessing that's being moved. We're moving that, and how would you like to proceed timeline wise? That's totally fine. No worries.
My suggestion to the board was not necessarily to postpone it, but I think we need to get the vast majority of the committee in place before you have a kickoff, so you don't have to do two kickoffs, or some
Right.
people are,
Yeah.
you know, halfway down the road and the other people are just getting in and saying, what?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, so it sounds like we should probably get our little ducks in a row in terms of
Right.
how we're going to, I think there's consensus that the concept of expansion is necessary, and so perhaps by our second April meeting, we'll have a clearer idea, so
Perfect.
probably not April, but
Yeah.
soon.
Perfect. And I can send you some of the materials that we've sent out in the past, and we can always modify those for
That would
the.
be great if you had a copy of the letter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, some
Definitely.
snazzy, like, fuck yeah, kind of thing, yeah, super.
So, yeah.
Great, well, to that end, I will entertain a first motion, please.
I move the town administrator be authorized on behalf of the town to sign the agreement between the town and Mid Coast Council of Governments as a planning consultant for the comprehensive plan. And in order to efficiently and effectively utilize committee and consultant time, the kickoff meeting between the comprehensive plan review committee and the consultant be held off until such time as the select board appoints additional members to the committee and updates the committee charge.
Second.
Moved and seconded, well done, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And to the end of that motion, I will entertain a second motion, please.
Well, I move that the select board make it widely known that the town is seeking additional members for the comprehensive plan review committee, and that the completed community interest forms be provided to the select board for consideration of appointment.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And then it would make sense on our next agenda to have a more constructive conversation about, select board member, land use committee, planning board, and others. Yeah. So thank you so much. Have a great evening. It's still light out.
Yeah.
Not raining.
Yeah.
Not yet. And next up, we do have a community interest form for the Recreation Commission. And the individual here, if we have questions. And if there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion. Or unless you want to say hi.
I move the board, let's see, I move the board. Appoint Brian Jackson as an alternate member of the Recreation Commission with a term expiring June of 2025.
Second that.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Hi, welcome. Want to introduce yourself for the record?
I was gonna say, I'm Brian Jackson. I live up here on Thurlow Road.
Yeah.
I know Bree, and a few other folks that have at least approached me, including Matt Dean, who
Yeah,
in hearing and running around and all the other things that I normally do. He just suggested that there might be of some use for both my experience and kind of developing community parks and fields and stuff in the past, alongside of working up at Waldo Cap and running the community services department, which brings in a whole lot of community outreach events and a lot of fundraising opportunities to get back to the community in and of itself.
Mhm.
So, and I got two little kids, 6
That's
and 8,
awesome.
and
That
so
is
it's more that, I travel all up and down the East Coast playing softball with a group of men who still feel like we're really young and we're not. So I know that I'm going to be losing that eventually, but in doing so, a lot of these tournaments that we go to, half the proceeds, I think, was it in Topsom every year. We do I think it's the third weekend of February. We play in the cold because they're in the cold, and it's a homeless,
Mm.
veterans tournament. We usually put up $35,000 to $40,000 for those things. And there's not a lot of exposure to that further up the coast. So it'd be really nice, you know, in developing the future community park as well as some of these fields. And I was kind of voluntold to do the presidency for the softball league this year for Camden. So I'm also trying to put a little bit more effort into some of the local fields and school stuff. So I filled out the form as instructed and read Mr. McKinney's email, and he told me to come in and just at least voice what I was hoping to be able to accomplish. So
Yep.
if you guys have any questions for me, that's fine. So
Yep. No,
The only question I would have is that, you know, you have to be a regular member and we only have the
Yeah.
alternate position available. Are you
Okay.
good with being an alternate?
I'm sure.
Okay,
But
But we attend the meetings. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
really.
I was just told to come here.
Sure,
and
sure, yeah.
Participate in the meetings, and I didn't know what was available or not.
yep.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I'm happy to do a bunch of it. I am typically in these meetings in some facet more for Waldo Cap for things, but
Yeah.
just in general, so I'm fairly aware of it. So
Yep.
That is great.
more
And
than
you-
happy to participate.
Yeah, and another note is, you know, your term, the term expiring in June 2025 is just because all on a rolling basis, they all kind of expire at the end of the fiscal year. So then there will be reappointments
Okay.
later in June, so.
Which you don't typically have to come back. for.
Right, you don't have to go through the rigmarole.
Yes, yeah. I'm
used to putting people on probationary periods. So I figured it was time I had one myself, so.
Well, thank you so much for taking
Sure.
the time to introduce yourself, and if there's no further discussion, all those in favor. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming out tonight and volunteering, yeah.
Thanks.
And I think they're meeting right now in the next room over. If you want to knock on the.
Thank you.
And next we have a request for an overweight vehicle permit. Our agenda does say Moody Mountain, that is intended to say Martin Corner on behalf of Moody's. Were they invited?
We were.
Okay, well. Not seeing a representative, representative or no, unfortunately, my sentiment has to remain the same, is that we're at our most vulnerable point right now, and so I couldn't recommend that the board move forward with waiving this restriction.
I didn't see, the only question that I have, I'm with you right there, 100%. The only question I had, I didn't see any, like a bond or any mention of a bond or anything like that. So
Yeah,
if there's not anything like that, then I guess we, like the others, have to wait until the postings come down at the very least.
They're probably recognizing, I mean, when this request came in, it was back in March.
yeah.
They're probably recognizing that they didn't get a permit and we're almost up.
Yeah.
We're within days
Do
of,
we know where, David, on Martin Corner Road?
yeah,
Not too far off.
we do. Or I do. We don't, but I, if you
Indicate.
come up off from 235, you go by the now clearing on the right for a new house. Left has a foundation.
Yeah.
Between the foundation and the mobile home that's at the top, there's another driveway that goes back in there.
Mr. Booty's.
Yep, that'd be the spot.
Mr. Gary, did you want to say something?
It has to do, I think you answered it. The town is considering some of the roads, maybe pulling the posters recently.
Yes, if you listen closely to the administrator's report at the start of the meeting, the administrator said, if the weather holds for what's predicted for this week, by the end of the week, for paved roads, they'll likely be down, and for gravel roads, probably not too far behind it.
I saw a poster down today as well.
I think there probably are some posters that got blown.
Yeah, blown down. Yeah.
Active got. Okay, so I guess we're moving on. Unless there's anything more to move on. Okay. Moving on, we have agenda item number 12, ferry terminal project correspondence or mean, I guess we got correspondence. There was a response. I don't,
We're patients.
Yeah.
bring it up. I was like, it's spell check.
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm.
Very good.
Yeah, it's like working ER.
What am I ill with?
So I guess we're to be patient.
It's up to you what you want to do. You asked for a response.
Yeah.
I did the best I could.
I did, and I asked for a response, see where they were with correspondence, and see how the board felt about how much time do we want to give this.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I brought it up is because I'm talking with the Commissioner Van Note. I asked if he would be cool with a couple people from the town, from the board and the town, having to sit down with him and talking about this issue. He said, yeah, I'm cool with that. But we kind of got to know if we want to do that, what the time might be. How much time do we want to give this process before we talk to him, if we want to talk to him at all? That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
I think we need to, I mean, they're definitely gonna figure it out pattern now regarding.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I don't know how much is in flux, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess regardless of that, I'm still disappointed that we weren't invited into the conversation way back when this was a twinkle in somebody's eye, you know, so I feel like be asserting a seat at the table is necessary. So, you know, while they may be in a process of reassess wherever they are, reassessment, abandonment, revisions, I don't know, but I feel like just sitting back and passively waiting is not something that I'm interested in. So I'm curious what the rest of the board's thoughts are on having two representatives meet with the commissioner. Because we're getting non-response. We were getting non-responses from the previous project manager, and we're getting non-responses from the new project manager.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, to what extent we want to try to open it up, I mean, and have more than just like two people from the select board. I mean, we want to have harbor committee person, public facilities, town manager, all, yeah. And I don't want to have the town overwhelmed.
Come to a workshop with the select board and the harbor committee.
I think he suggested, we'd have to ask him. I think he suggested he'd rather do it in a room with no cameras. Not, well, he did, yeah, that it'd rather not be a public meeting, yeah.
Okay.
And I'd suggest that as well myself, yeah. Just
Okay.
because
Okay.
talking in a room amongst, yeah, is easy sometimes.
You don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Do what they want to do.
It'd be nice if we could get one or two of us,
Yeah.
David and Matt,
Yeah. Yeah.
to be able to sit down with him and
Yeah.
talk through. Matt's got a lot of
I
knowledge in the
agree.
space,
Yeah.
et cetera. I mean, I think it's more than two, but probably two from our group.
Yeah.
And
Well, we can't have more than two because then it's a meeting.
no, two of us.
Yeah.
And then Matt and I'm
Yeah, that's
thinking
why I look, yeah,
Matt, Dave and two
yeah,
of us.
and he'll probably have a couple of other people like these
Right.
these project managers.
Yeah.
And a service service.
Yeah, I'd be a fan of that. I mean, I feel like any opportunity to have the conversation, and even if it is being pushy.
Yep.
I would rather,
We are.
again, assert, like we're the primary player in this conversation, so. The real question is who would be willing to do that?
But I'd be willing to do it
Okay.
instead, because I mean, I have like a relationship
Yep,
and on the transportation committee, so we
Yeah.
see each other.
yeah,
But I may not be the best person to ask the questions that we need to be asked even. Need to be asked.
I think you should be involved.
okay.
I agree.
I'm sorry. I do.
I would be fine with that, but I did, I think it was, I think any of us. So David, would you and Matt be
We'll go anywhere. We don't care.
facilitate that? And do you want a motion to?
I don't think a motion's necessary. It might be, although it might be appropriate for the
Consider.
four of you to designate which two of you are going,
Yeah.
so that, because the charter does say
Why don't we just, for sake of cleanliness, come up with a motion to appoint the two select board representatives and our town administrator and deputy harbor master, just for clean.
I move that the select board appoint our chair Dunn and select person Bray to meet with Commissioner Van Note, along with our town administrator David Kinney and our public facilities director Matthew Dean.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? And certainly any representatives that the commissioner feels should be appropriate, yeah. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, thank you very much. Yeah, I look forward to that. Yeah. Anything else on this? All righty.
But I was gonna mention, but, and for the four of us, the DOT does provide a good lunch and a lot of swag. So we
There
can
you go.
walk at home.
Don't get her up.
a road or two.
Yeah, you might throw that in good.
Potholes. Okay, moving along, we have acknowledgement of investment objectives for the town reserve and trust fund. David, do you want to speak to this briefly?
Sure. A couple of weeks ago, the board approved a new policy at the suggestion of the Finance Advisory Committee. That takes us from First National Wealth Management or First Advisors. They have a scale of conservative principal stability ranging down through aggressive growth. And we will move from the income classification to a balanced portfolio. And for their paperwork that goes with the policy that we've already sent them, they've sent the new acknowledgement of investment objective, and you have in your packet the old one that we had. So you can see we've done this before. It's just paperwork to make it all work.
Super. Will someone make a motion, please?
I move to authorize the town administrator and or the finance directors to sign the acknowledgement of investment objective indicating a balanced asset mix.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? None. All those in favor? Thank you very much. And David, you want to hit us with the real fun evening?
Yeah. So, as I reported previously, Mark Bauer, who's the current town attorney, is leaving Jensen Baird to become an assistant state attorney general. We were going to be moved to, or have the option to move to Benjamin McCall at Jensen Baird to be the town attorney. The board had asked at some point when it was convenient, we would meet with Mr. McCall. And we've worked with Ben in the past as a support to either Sally or to Mark. Unfortunately, Jensen Baird, with Mark's departure and another retirement, another departure in the municipal services group, is closing their municipal services group. Ben is moving to Drummond Woodsum, which is another law firm in Portland. We can migrate with Mr. McCall to that firm. We're just basically saying we want to do that. As much as I like Ben, we've been with Jensen Baird probably for 15 years now, give or take. It may be just time to go out and see what's available. We certainly can send a request to the folks at Drummond Woodsum to see what they can offer as well, if they really want to have our business and make a choice. There's some risk to that because seems like any occupation right now is hard to come by live people. And there's certainly all of Jensen Baird's clients will be looking for new counsel. And they had a number of municipalities, so, but I'm sure that I've also been contacted by one attorney who said, "Oh, I understand Jensen Baird is closing their operations. Can we be considered or can I be considered?" And I said, "Well, the board doesn't even know about it yet, so I'll let you know what they want to do when they tell me what they want to do." So
it seems that we have a responsibility to open the conversation with absolutely no offense to anyone. Okay, any further questions for David? If there aren't any, I'll entertain the first motion, please.
I move that the board authorize the town administrator to prepare, distribute, and advertise request proposals for legal services.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And a second motion, please.
I move to have the town administrator request that Jensen Baird retain our client files while we seek new legal counsel.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. All right. This should be interesting. And next up, I don't know if you all noticed the same email in your inbox regarding the action alert regarding tax exempt bonds. And as David pointed out, it's not as though we're actually seeking bonds, but we might, who knows? And so it just seems that, I'd love a consensus from the board, whether they'd like to pursue some sort of resolution to put our voice in the saying, hey, let's not make things harder.
No, I'm all for a resolution signing on to
Okay.
the petition as it were. If there is
I
such.
think we should.
Okay, great. So perhaps at our next
sure. Draft that.
board meeting. Super. All right. Thank you, everybody. And if we can wake our other assessor.
Showed up.
Thanks for sticking it out. We first need a motion to continue on our next agenda item.
I move we suspend our meeting as a select board and that we convene as the Board of Assessors.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. I think you are allowed to vote.
Okay, then I voted for
On
yes.
this one,
But
but
now I'm
from this point on, you don't exist.
I don't exist.
You- Rosie, would you step in a microphone, please? While our other assessor joins us, David, you want to give a brief
Sure. So
synopsis?
annually, the town is required to file a certified ratio declaration form with Maine Revenue Services. This is pretty much a math exercise. And then it triggers the reimbursement for homestead exemptions because we do get partial reimbursement from the state of Maine for that. This year is a little more complicated because we're in the process of the revaluation. You could choose to declare at 54%. That was the average ratio of sales that went on in 2023 versus our assessed values. The current assessor's agent, you also have the ability to estimate where you will be when you do the next tax commitment. Vern Ziegler, the current assessor's agent, is recommending that you certify at 100% because when we're done with the reval, we'll be somewhere near 100%. And what happens at Maine Revenue Services is they base their homestead reimbursement. We get 80% of that upfront. Well, not upfront, but sooner rather than later. And then in the fall, when we do the municipal valuation return, which is the big data packet that we send to the state, we'll actually know the actual ratio. We'll know the actual number of homesteads, we'll know the actual mill rate, and then we can calculate what the actual or they can calculate what the actual reimbursement will be. So if we make an error one way or the other, it gets made up in the fall. And I don't know if I did a very good job explaining that. Oh, by the way, in order to be able to certify at 100%, because they know we're at 54, we are including the first page of the agreement for the revaluation, which clearly states on it that we intend to use this for values as of April 1st, 2025 for our tax commitment. If any of that makes sense.
Any follow-up questions from the assessors? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the board approve and sign the certified ratio declaration form for submission to Maine Revenue Services.
So moved, seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much, and we need one final motion before we can proceed on with the rest of the agenda.
I move that we adjourn our meeting as the Board of Assessors and reconvene as the Select Board.
So moved,
Second.
seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ron Service.
Before you go.
You gotta sign it. And now that we're back together as the select board, Kern, do you have an update?
I have a little update. We've had a meeting of Midco Solid Waste, a couple of things that are in the works. First thing is, it's we've alerted the YMCA that their septic pipe that traverses our yard is leaking. And there was a big question as to who owned it. I'm not sure why, but we ended up finding documents in the vault in Camden that spelled it out very clearly. Whose it was and whose responsibility it is. So we're pushing them to make the right thing, do the right thing. If not, it will be we will be taking care of it and then go after it a different way. So that is in the works. And we have to do that before we resurface down there to get things straightened out. The other thing is we're doing a study on the building materials that are brought into Midco Solid Waste, and are they usable in some way, shape, or form? And at the end of the year, the gentleman who's doing the survey will put this in front of us so that we can figure out whether we should start trying to have someone do that, save, reclaim, whatever. And there are companies that are doing that now, which could potentially put more money in our pocket as well as push the closure out more. So we have a fair amount of that going on. And we're doing well down there, really, but we need to do better. That's why we're doing that. Costs us about $20,000, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, I just imagine, Kern, that you might want to keep an eye. There's legislation in Augusta right now. Who knows if it'll get through all the way and enacted to open up dumps, transfer stations to the old days of picking, more or less. But it's couched in nice language, of course. Anyway, you might want to keep an eye on that.
Prettier.
Yeah,
Well, it'll be in a bigger way if we get to that picking, so to speak, but
right,
processed and
I don't know if
so that we can actually recoup some of the costs.
Yeah, I don't know if that legislation would affect the
Not sure, but
at
we'll
all.
keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mike, do you have?
No, I don't know.
Steve?
Only one item. It was just a couple of requests. I'd got emails and one person stopped me. They're all related to the harbor. It was with the busy season coming. Many of our harbor users would love to see the harbor cam. Some focus put on getting it working again. I know it's on the list, but I told each of them I talked to that I would bring it up.
Yep. No, it's timely.
Yeah.
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 There's a busy season coming
Yeah.
and such.
And I have no updates. Thank you for that. And we have the treasurer and payroll warrants to approve and sign.
I move the board approve and sign the treasurer's and payroll warrants. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And if there's no other business,
I
the
do
board.
have one other thing, going back to what you said about the Harbor camera. Reminds me to ask you, how are we doing with the IT guy or company or?
Seems to be working fine. Of course, tomorrow the computers won't work and then it won't be quite as fine. I have not, I will say I was maybe generous by not asking them to go down and try to figure out that camera in the middle of winter when it's
Yep.
pretty brutal down there, but now that the sun seems to be out one day a month, maybe we'll try to time that better.
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Sounds good. Well, I'll entertain a final motion, please.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Don't go before you sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.